Good morning and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines, our morning get together live here on Facebook, where we examine headlines from our city, our state, and our country. We take a look at your comments, ideas, and suggestions, and we combine all this information so that we can connect with one another, connect with our destination, Puerto Vallarta, as a community of English-speaking locals living here permanently. Although some of you are not here, but if part of your heart is in Puerto Vallarta, you're more than welcome to join us. Today is Saturday, August 27, and I'm not really here. This is a pre-recorded version, as we mentioned all week long. Today, we are playing hooky with the nice folk of the Corazón Vallarta Tours. We're going on a hike to the Cascada El Salto in Colonia Agua Azul. We want to find out what is there up there. I've never been. And rather than going and exploring by myself with my camera for a change, I figured, well, I might as well go with this group and see what they're about and hopefully support their endeavors. I know that a few friends from the cluster will be joining me this morning. So what I have prepared for you, if you are watching, is just a little bit of this, that, and the other that we have not had a chance to explore this week. So our content today includes an update on our friend Kristi Fredrick's squirrel business and how she keeps busy rescuing wild animals. We are going to expand on some information that we discussed earlier in the week that has to do with how to tell people nicely that you're trying to get past them. On the street, at the movie theater, in the supermarket, you name it. We're also going to touch base further on a very useful and important question that we got this week. What is the difference between a colonia, a barrio, and a vecindario? And when are those words appropriate and when they are not? And last but not least, I'm going to share a few photographs that I took along the Malecon earlier this week when I went into town shopping for yarn. And the overall goal of today is that we're going to record this in one take, just like we do our morning broadcast. So we'll see if we are able to do that without me fumbling or stumbling with words that I don't know very well. So let's start with the first topic today. As you know, I have always opened an invitation for anyone to share photos of what keeps you busy back home, wherever home is, so that we can get to know a little bit more about you. We appreciate photos that are in sufficient resolution so that we can fill the screen with them. And we appreciate photos that are horizontal in orientation because, again, they look better on the screen. The photos that Kristi shared with us are not horizontal, but they are of enough resolution. But we are fascinated by what Kristi Fredrick does. She has been a member of our cluster for some time now, and animal causes are very dear to my heart, and I know the heart of many of you. So, what does Kristi does with her pastime, with her free time? Well, what she does is she nurtures. Hold on just one second. There it is. She nurtures baby squirrels, wild squirrels that need to be taken care of. She nurtures these animals. Look at just how small this little squirrel is and how skinny it is. I don't know how old they are, but they are tiny, tiny, tiny. And Kristi's been doing this for some time. I don't know exactly how the squirrels find her or how they get to her, but I'm always delighted when Kristi shares this kind of information with us. And we have a short video that gives us a sense as to how many squirrels Kristi is working with these days. So not only do I find these adorable, but I also look forward to any photos or video footage that you wish to share with me so that we can get a sense as to what your life is like or your surroundings or whatever it is that keeps you busy, whether you are here in Puerto Vallarta or you are watching from another part of the world. Thank you for sharing those, Kristi. I know I've had them for almost a week, but I had been waiting for a good time to share them, and it seems like today is the best time to do that. Now, I don't even remember how we got into this topic, but somewhere along the week, we touched base on what happens when, actually, thank you. What happens when you're trying to get through? Sometimes you can find yourself in the movie theater and the movie just ended and it was amazing, but you just sat through 2 hours worth of it and you're trying to get to the bathroom quickly and people are leisurely getting out of their seats and walking down the aisle. Or what happens when you find yourself in the supermarket and the person in front of you has leisurely parked their shopping cart in the middle of the aisle, not letting you get by from one side or from the other. Or what happens when you're walking down the Malecon, or in the case of our friend Logan, when you're trying to ride your bicycle to work and people are blocking the bicycle path. Well, we have a phrase, and this phrase is con permiso. Now, this whole segment is going to ruffle the feathers of a few of you that are tourists, but you know what? I don't care. You know why? Because we've all been tourists, we've all been dizzy, and we've all walked around a new surrounding with googly eyes, and we forget that there are people that are trying to get by. So, con permiso, if you're not a native Spanish speaker, is a phrase that you want to learn and you want to be mindful of in case somebody uses it. So let's break this down. Let's unpack the phrase con permiso. Con permiso literally means with permission, and what the phrase implies is, with your permission, I'd like to get through. That's what we say when we're trying to get past you at the supermarket, at the movie theater aisle. When we're in a car, we honk it. We cannot really yell anything out. And the phrase sometimes is expressed as a question, me das permiso, or me da permiso if it's someone you don't know. And what that means is, would you allow me to get through? Now, it's easier said than done because a lot of times people that don't know the phrase, of course, are not going to get out of the way because they're not familiar with the phrase. So I think what happened this week is I chuckled about the fact that when I'm trying to get by, what I do is I'll say con permiso, and then if it doesn't work, I'll say con permiso a little louder, and then I'll say con permiso a little louder until the person realizes that I'm trying to get by. Now, could I be helpful and say to a person that only speaks English, well, I'm trying to get by and this is the phrase that you should use? I suppose I could, and I suppose in some occasions I do. Others, not so much. Now, how does Logan get into this conversation? Well, Apparently, somebody out there, while we were talking about this the other day, mentioned that Logan has a certain way in which he's charming as he tries to get by with his bicycle. So we have this little. I asked Logan the other night when we went to this wonderful chiles en nogada dinner, Logan, would you enact your behavior of trying to get by? And I love it because Logan starts with a little cuff. Check it out.
I got my satchel.
First he cuffs.
Con permiso. Con permiso. Con permiso.
So there you have it. If you ever find yourself at the tail end of a con permiso, you know what the expression means. Now, somebody posted a very interesting question the other day, and this had to do with three words that are very similar, but can be very different, and one wants to be careful with their use. And this has to do with the words colonia, barrio, and vecindario. Now, we mention colonias quite frequently because we know that our city is divided in colonias. As a general rule, colonias in Mexico refer to neighborhoods in cities of any side which have no jurisdictional autonomy or representation beyond that provided by a neighborhood association. So let's just say that a colonia is a small little building block of any city. It is believed that the term colonia was used in the late 19th or early 20th century in Mexico City when the first significant urban development outside of the city became inhabited by the French. So it was called the French colony. And eventually the word became widespread in its use, and that is the word that we use today, colonia. It's a perfectly safe word. You will not offend anybody because it is what it is. It is a word that is representing a specific neighborhood. Now, the word barrio also means neighborhood, but whereas the word colonia is delimited by its location and its boundaries are set, a barrio is delimited by functional or architectural features. Let me explain myself. Let's say that you have an area of a city that has a lot of flower shops or maybe has a lot of furniture shops. Then those are the barrios where these things are located, and they can cover or they can be in more than one colonia. So that is what a barrio is. It's a certain part of a city where you can find something. But what is interesting about the word barrio is that whereas in many Latin American countries, the word itself does not have socioeconomic connotations, in Mexico it does. So it should be used mindfully. A common phrase, for example, here in Mexico is to say if a persona is a persona del barrio, it means that that person comes from the slums. So it's not a nice thing to ask someone, ¿en qué barrio vives? Because you're assuming that the person lives in a slum, or your question, which could be totally well-intentioned, will be interpreted or could be interpreted in a negative way. The better or safer option is to just ask someone, ¿en qué colonia vives? Or what neighborhood or what colonia do you live in? So that's more of a safer option than saying, ¿en qué barrio vives? Although in other countries in Latin America, it is quite common to use the word barrio in that fashion. Now, to fully appreciate the third word that was volunteered, which is vecindario, we have to take a look at the source of this word, which is the word vecindad. And a vecindad consists of a number of small dwellings, usually located on both sides of a central hallway, where several families share common services like water, electricity, so forth and so on. The first vecindarios or the first vecindades appeared in Mexico City in the 19th century to provide affordable housing for low income families. There are a couple of vecindades near where I live, here in Colonia Versalles, and they can be identified by the fact that they are located in a dead end street. And in fact, they have very limited space for vehicles to get in and out of them. And I've always been curious to photograph them because they're unique. They're very specific in their boundaries. So back to the word itself, the word vecindario refers to the group of people that inhabit a vecindad. And just as in the case of the word barrio, telling someone that they live in a vecindario may not be the most flattering thing to say, at least here in Mexico, even when some vecindarios, for example, in Mexico City, and I'm sure in larger cities like Guadalajara, when some vecindarios have been remodeled and the people that live there are swanky and the vecindarios themselves are swanky, it is still a word that I would use with caution. Now, arguably, no, actually, without a doubt, the most famous vecindad or vecindario in Mexico is that of El Chavo del Ocho, which is a Mexican television sitcom that was produced by Televisa in the 1970s. It remained on the air until 1980, and it tells the story of a poor orphan boy nicknamed El Chavo, which means the kid. El Chavo lived in a barrel in the middle of the space shared by other numbered dwellings, and the sitcom has to do with the comings and goings of the people that live in the different dwellings. El Chavo del Ocho continues to be a very popular television show throughout Latin America, with syndicated episodes averaging about 91 million daily viewers in all of the Americas. And of course, I grew up watching this television show, and it was quite fun to watch when I was a kid because it had everything to do with the perils of these people that lived in this very humble neighborhood, some of whom pay their rent on time, some of whom were always late and hiding from the landlord. And of course, El Chavo, or the main actor, was always getting in trouble with other kids that also live in the vecindad with him. So that is the little explanation of the three words, colonia, barrio, and vecindario. The safer one of them, of course, is colonia. Now, before I leave, I want to remind you that tomorrow, Sunday, there is this event going on at Art and Handmade Exposition that we're going to go check out at Captain Don's. I think it is in Cinco de Diciembre. I will share this information with you in the show notes. And before we end, I had mentioned to you that I had gone into town. I showed you a little bit of a walk this past Wednesday where I showed you parts of Francisco Medina Asensio as they are being rebuilt to accommodate for a better bicycle path along the lateral. But of course, then I walked through Cinco de Diciembre, and then I got to the Malecón itself. I had not walked the Malecón in a while, and what I love about walking the Malecón is that there's always something fun, new, and interesting going on. This time around was no exception. There were plenty of people out there enjoying the day, even though it was a balmy, balmy day. And I took some photos and I took some video that I would like to share with you right now in this short montage. And that was our broadcast for today, Saturday, August 26th. I hope you enjoyed this pre-recorded content that I put together for you. And of course, while you're watching, I'm out there hiking with new friends that I'm hoping to make, and with some friends from the cluster that are choosing to join me. And I'll be telling you all about it on Monday. And of course, Monday, I will also have some wonderful news about new equipment that will be in our hands to improve the quality of our walking tours and our interviews on the go moving forward. As always, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for allowing for yours truly to take a day to go exploring with a new tour guide that I'm not familiar with. But I'm looking forward to it. And again, I'll tell you all about it on Monday. I hope you have a great weekend. And I hope you'll share some of your own adventures with us here at Coffee and Headlines next week. As always, if you send us photos, if you send us video, we're always happy to see what your life is like and what your life is about. So stay happy, stay kind, have a great weekend, and I will see you again on Monday.